Welcome to episode 191 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast. If my math is correct, again, we are episode 200 is like the 30th of January.
So Conroe.
Yeah, the week after Conroe.
Cool.
I should probably start planning that.
Yep, you definitely should.
I will get on that at some point. All right. Make sure I got all my stuff pulled up.
I'm trying really hard to physically be still right now.
You're good. Here we go. Robert is not with us tonight. He is working. He is busy making racks and cages. So it's me and Katie.
I'm physically exhausted and I'm emotionally drained, but I feel like I've had 7 energy drinks today and my brain is going like 50 million directions.
It has been a crazy week. We won. We were on a flight at the beginning of the week. We left Sunday morning, came back Tuesday. Had to go out of town for a funeral to Washington, D.C.
Yep.
So we did that and then we came back and then we worked 2 days. And then now we're off tomorrow because we're leaving out of town early tomorrow morning to drive 11 hours to a football game to take our daughter to her first football game at Troy University, which is where Katie and I went to school.
And it's alumni band week.
And I'm supposed to be playing on the field.
I haven't even looked at routines I'm supposed to be doing yet. It's okay.
I haven't played a trombone in 18 years since I left marching band in college. And it shows. It really shows.
I'll pick up the color guard routine really quick. So I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, that's going to be much easier than me trying to figure out this music.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to be faking it. I'm going to fake the shit on the field. It's going to look great. It'll look great. And I'll march with everybody. And oh, fuck. Anyways, so it's 2 of us. It's been a crazy week, but we are here. Let's do some sponsor stuff, Katie.
Yeah, if you're looking for a high-quality PVC rack, look no further than Lone Star Reptile Racks. They offer a variety of sizes for all types of snakes, geckos, rats, and more. You can even order something custom. Shipping is available, or you can plan to pick up at a Herps Reptile show near you. Visit lsreptileracks.com to reach out to Lone Star Reptile Racks and place your order today.
Yeah, there's that. Then there is Little Shop of Horrors. Little Shop of Horrors is a small feeder and pet supply business based in San Antonio. They regularly schedule feeder meetups around San Antonio as well as other neighboring towns and cities. They offer shipping on their feeder insects, isopods, and are working on starting shipping on their feeder rodents too, which is true. He was supposed to ship a box out to me tomorrow, but then I realized
we won't be here when it gets here.
We won't be here when it gets here.
Yeah, no.
So
good idea.
Next week we are going to test out the shipping, and if it all works, he'll be able to start shipping. So Lewis will be able to start shipping his awesome rodents to everyone.
And we'll be home all week next week.
And then all of our listeners everywhere else can probably use some sort of code or something and get a discount. And I haven't talked to Lewis about that yet, but I'm sure it'll be fine. But anyways, all the feeders are raised on nutritional diet that optimizes the health of the reptiles and amphibians that consume them. You will love them if you use them. They are great feeder rodents. I use them. I have all the rats in my freezer from them. They're awesome. Let's do Herps shows. This weekend, November 18th and 19th, West Monroe, Louisiana. Then off to Austin, Texas, December 2nd, December 3rd. Then back to Louisiana for Slidell on December 9th and 10th. That's a pretty good size show. So if you're thinking which show should I go to, Slidell's usually a pretty good one. It's a big one. Up to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, January 13th and 14th. Then over to Longview, Texas, January 20th and 21st. And then the big show, Conroe, January 27th, 28th, my birthday weekend. And should be the weekend before our 100th episode, our 200th, he would say 200th episode. Corpus Christi is February 24th, February 25th, and then Baton Rouge, March 2nd and March 3rd. So that is your coming up Herps Reptile shows. Go out, check the Herps Reptile shows, go to them. Support your local reptile breeder right now. It's rough for a lot of folks between reptiles and dry goods. Go to a show and buy stuff. Just please go to a show and buy something from somebody. It'll make their day. Am I forgetting somebody? I feel like, VivTech. Check out VivTech and use code GUMBO22 to save 15% on any of your VivTech order. If you need LED UVB light bulbs, which will last you forever, and they're amazing and they're great for your animals, go to VivTech products, use code GUMBO22, and save 15%. I'm trying to think, do we need any bulbs? We're good right now. We're good on bulbs. You know why we're good on bulbs? Good on bulbs. Because we bought them and they last forever.
Yeah, everything at school has bulbs.
Everything at home has bulbs.
I did have to replace heat the other day on something.
Which was not VivTech.
But that's not VivTech.
No, because if it was VivTech, it would last for a generation.
Yeah.
Or several years. Anyways, VivTech, go check them out. Gumbo22. It'll save you 15%. Am I missing anything else?
I don't think so.
I'll breathe for a second.
I've only been home for like 20 minutes. I just shoveled food down my throat so that I wasn't starving.
I have not. Yeah, well, I ate a bag of chips when I got home, or the rest of a bag of chips. So yeah. So this episode will probably. I'm not gonna lie, it's not gonna get put out until next week because look, I'm leaving tomorrow to go out of town.
We won't even be home till Monday night.
Yeah. So
And then we have family that's going to be here all day Tuesday. So Wednesday will be the soonest it can get.
It's fine.
out.
People are used to me putting this stuff out later at this point.
And we're not recording next
Oh,
week.
our giveaway for the month. We have a giveaway for the month. Go over and check out our Facebook page, Reptile Gumbo Podcast Facebook page. We're giving away, well, I say we're giving away. Colossal Constrictors is sponsoring our giveaway for this month. They're giving away a Reptile Gumbo Podcast shirt. It's got our cool older logo on the back and the new logo on the pocket. So you can win a free shirt and we'll send you some stickers as well. So go check that out. All you got to do is go over to our page, find the link or find the post, which is pinned at the top, and tell us what you're thankful for. Just tell us what in the hobby you are thankful for, and you're entered in to win a free t-shirt. That's all you have to do. There's nothing else. Don't be lazy. Just go to the Facebook page. Tell us what in the hobby you're thankful for, and you win. And then listen up for next month, because next month Colossal Constrictors wants to do a giveaway every week of December, just like they did last year. My words aren't working. Last year, so pay attention
That's
for that.
awesome for like Christmas presents, or
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you win it and you want to keep it for yourself, we won't judge you at all.
No, I would totally keep everything for myself.
But like if you are a listener who maybe has no need for anything like that and you win it, it could make a great gift for somebody that you know that does need it.
Go check that out.
I'm almost done Christmas shopping, but I know a lot of people haven't even started.
Oh, you know what I just realized before we got on here? Because I went in the snake room when I was looking around. There may be baby snakes when we get back.
Are you fucking kidding me right now?
I don't know when the Sambo is due, but she recently pooped. And she pooped. I can smell it, which normally I can't smell Sambo poop.
If you're not watching this live and you can't see my face, I'm really sorry that you're missing out on this opportunity.
And then she's laying on her side, and she is fat. So yeah, there could be babies when we get back.
Oh my God.
So there's that. Anyways, Joyce, I shipped out a baby yesterday. It made it nice and safe today.
Hey, why don't you bring our guest in?
I know. I was just saying. I shipped
just
it. I
sitting there
sold a
all
snake to a
patient.
listener, and I was super happy.
I'm proud of you.
Leave me alone. I sent them stickers and everything. I was very nice. Anyways, I bring in our guest. Oh, our guest tonight is Ed Komara.
Komara.
Komara. Oh, I knew it was going to be wrong. Komara from Komara Outdoors. How's it going, Ed?
Let's go, man. I like to say it's been pretty good lately, but a lot of family stuff. But
I say we
on the
were
flip
both
side,
talking about that.
yeah. But other than that, life's good with the animals. We're winding down pretty good with, my season. So I get a nice, probably 4 or 5 month break.
So let's talk about what you keep, and then let's talk about your season, because like for me, I don't have seasons. I run straight through, and everything has heat, and
I
so
know. I was like, what does the outdoors in your name mean?
well, we can get to that too. But so let's talk about what you have, and we'll get to one of the reasons why we're having you on, because it's one of our favorite animals. We just don't own one, and we never will, because we know it doesn't fit our lifestyle, but we totally want one. But what do you keep?
So I keep a wide range right now. My main one, I've always been a turtle guy. So that's my niche, turtles. So I mainly keep those. But I do now, when I do my educational programs, now I have like that's where the wide range kind of comes into play. But my main niche is diamondback terrapins.
I knew that's what he was going to say.
I knew too, because I knew
Because
that.
I didn't know. I'm a horrible co-host. I did not know anything about what you did. He may have told me.
I did. I totally did.
There's been a lot going on in the last week, and I don't remember anything other than having to reschedule with you multiple times because of craziness going on both sides.
Yeah.
And I love diamondback terrapins so much.
Yeah. I've been working with them probably for almost the past like 13 years. So they're my main bread and butter. That's the only species I actually keep and breed, because I'm actually one of the only actually legit, consecutive, consistent U.S. breeders in the country right now that offer them to the public, because there's really not too many of them. And even the people that, used to do it, beyond me, they're not even doing a whole lot of it, So I'm trying to pick up the slack, and because these guys aren't on the radar at all. And my main goal is to get these guys on the radar a little bit more, because you can't have the most beautiful turtle in the world right now and no one even know about them.
unfortunately for us, not only do they not fit our lifestyle, which I would desperately want one, we can't legally own them here in Texas.
Nope.
Yeah,
So-
they had a little bit of a gray area, but then now
They've shaded that in.
out.
Now, here's a question. Is it one of those things where we can't legally own it unless we get a permit?
No. We can't legally own it.
There's not even a permit
Yeah,
system?
so there used to be a permit, but it was even the permit system was a gray area. And even that gray area, it classified as having to have not the native species. So you couldn't own the Gulf Coast species. So you technically could have owned something outside of the range, like a northern concentric or something like that. But now they've actually kind of went back to the basics this past year or two, I think, and it's full blown. Yeah. So that's the only unfortunate thing about the Diamondback Terrapins. And it's fortunate and unfortunate thing that, because I worked with Florida with Daniel Parker with USARK Florida last year, and pretty heavily in trying to get this the Terrapins actually on the list to be able to actually get, work with FWC a little bit to be like, hey, if we have legitimate breeders, if it's only captive born, and stuff like that, and have like legitimate protocols and procedures. They didn't really want to hear any of that, so a lot of the coastal states have a lot of regulations, unfortunately.
Well, the problem is and we've talked about it on our show before, is that the people that have to enforce the laws, the wild people, the game wardens and all, they don't know anything about them. So it doesn't matter what Diamondback terrapin species you have, they're all the same thing. Yeah. And so in order to squash any issues there, it's an outright, you can't own it.
Yeah, they just want to do a blanket because it's easier for them to just do that rather than having to, okay, this one has spots, this one has flashes. What does this mean? What does that mean? Well, I mean, no one wants to see all the different localities of them. And the thing about them is no matter what range they're in, they're always ones that look totally off the wall that are always – that's the reason I love these guys, because there's not any other turtles really, or even a lot of many species out there that not only has 7 different subspecies within its own species – let alone every one of them look different.
Yeah.
And then just it's almost you think of a ball python, it comes from a ball python, right? And then all these genes kind of come from it. But then you got one species, but 7 different classified, all look different. Like, can you imagine? That's why my mind, and even before I fell in love with them, from a breeding standpoint, I just I don't know. It's easy to fall in love with them, especially because they have such a crazy personality. They're a different level, just like there's different levels in the reptile world of lizards, monitors, or snakes. There's just different levels, and I think Diamondback terrapins are pretty much at one of those top level tiers of they have the personality, they have the beauty to match all of it.
When I used to work at Alexandria Zoo in Louisiana, and we had 3 of them, and I don't know we didn't have any history on them or subspecies or anything, but I know that we had one that was super pretty. It was light blue, like light tan shell, but light blue skin and spotted and all, super pretty. And then I had another male and female that were much darker, but man, that light colored with the light blue skin is just awesome looking.
Yeah.
What state are you based out of?
Where am I based out of?
Yeah.
Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit in state, country, so I don't have to really worry about any of that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I mainly there's 2 subspecies. I've worked with all of them. I've checked the list on all of them, other than the Tequesta, which is kind of a little bit more rare, but a lot of people kind of write that one off because there's really not a whole lot of difference with it other than the Gulf Coast. But I've worked with just about all of them other than that one. And the main 2 I work with are mainly the Gulf Coast species right now, the Texan, Louisiana, which would be classified where you're at, the Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, and then the concentrics. Because I like to work with that blue phase as well. So I'm incorporating the blue phase. And if you see a lot of my posts, I love that blue phase, that kind of crystal,
They it sucks they can't be owned here, but I mean I get it. But I mean for something that has such a wide range, it's crazy. We have several reptile species in this country that I'm always amazed when you look at the range of them. Something like we talked about before, like timber rattlesnakes. Timber rattlesnakes from like Pennsylvania all the way to Texas, right? You can find them, or at least Louisiana. And then you got the Diamondback terrapin all the way down pretty much to the Atlantic coast, and then all the way across the Gulf Coast. Such a huge
and even
range.
The Keys, the Key West has their own subspecies, which is the most rarity of them all. And but it's also a shame, like you said, because, me and a couple of my buddies, that have been breeding it for, a good long time, we don't see this as just breeding them and, because we love it. We see it as we have an obligation to the species because, like, the ornates and the mangroves and all the ones down in Florida that now that no one's allowed to own, who's doing a lot of conservation work for it? Who's doing something about it? To where, there's not a lot of funding at all going into them for the conservation route because not a lot of people know about them. So you want to ban it, which is okay. That's not okay, but it's like, if that's your preference, but what are you going to do to buffer that mitigation if you're not allowed to keep them? Right. So, like, we feel it as an obligation, some of us, to be like, if we don't continue these genes and these subspecies, it's only a matter of time before Florida, like the mangrove species and the Key West and ornates, between, hurricanes and displacement and, and all this other stuff going on with the, the red tide and all that stuff, it's wiping them out and it's shifting them even up more to where they're not really locality is interbreeding. So it's like, it's not going to be too long to where it's just going to be, they're not going to be either there or they're going to be just the genes are just not going to be as pure. So we feel it as an obligation just to keep the legacy of these guys on, whether it's in a captive standpoint or a pet standpoint, because my main dream and vision is to get these guys and donate them to many different zoos and sanctuaries, because that's where the question popped up to why I even told you if you want to.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
That's really awesome, though.
Well, and it's tricky. Captive breeding is important because, I think we've talked about it a few times on here before, but several years back, there was a guy in New York, the one that was supposedly a big time breeder of diamondback terrapins. Then come to find out he was just going out and
Dave
catching.
Summer. Yeah, Dave Summer. He was in PA and he was driving. Yeah. And he was the only one. He was the only one on Fauna and King Snake posting them for dirt cheap. Oh yeah, a lot of us got some of them, and it didn't take too long before we knew someone was up. But
he for those that don't know, he caught gravid females, brought them in, and from my understanding, gave them shots of Pitocin, which is the same stuff that will cause a woman to go into labor. They would lay the eggs, and then he could let the females go. But I think when they went to bust him, he had a house full of babies and no breeding adults, no pairs or nothing. A bunch of eggs and babies. So
they actually put a tracking device on his truck and his vehicle to find out where he was going. Yeah, and find out where he was going to see in his driving route. And but it's not hard to say. When we used to buy from him, you'd buy one or two and dirt cheap, but then you get them and then one would die within a week or two for no reason, and then you contact him and be like, hey man, this happened. Then he'll send you 2 or 3 more just because. The hush thing. He's like, he didn't care that he wasn't producing them, so it's like, I take pride in mine if something happens to him, but like, A, you're not going to have that. B, we're going to find out what happened and what's going on. I'm just not going to just, pawn them off, just like they're, just a product, Yeah.
That whole thing was just a crazy story.
I will say the only good thing that came of that is that people got to know about him. You know?
Well, it's funny because he was in the hobby for a long time, accepted as this guy that's breeding diamondback terrapins, and come to find out he wasn't breeding a single one of them, and then stuff like that is what causes more regulation and legislation to come down that keeps people from being able to own them, because
that's why we have trust issues. That right there.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but that's why, I said it in my mindset a long time ago, my motive heart a long time ago, and realizing like you're not going to be able to stop the bad apples.
Yeah.
But you can drown them out by doing it the best professional outlook that you can do yourself,
About how many do you think you produce regularly?
So I have quite a few adults, but the thing with mine is they go on a seasonal kind of yearly cycle, and I let them to, because I don't do it full time. I don't want to do it full time.
Yeah.
And because I have all my other stuff I got going on, but I want to keep them in their lane of like, hey, look, I love you so much where whatever, if you do or don't produce for me, it's okay. I'm not going to dictate how I take care of you and all this stuff. So, but I usually average around, because I go for quality things, so like my thing is like I selectively breed all my terrapins for certain things I'm looking for and that I'm trying to progress to, rather than every year just like the same thing over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to dial it in. So I'm very selective. So I actually don't produce a whole lot, which is fine by me because I take a lot of pride in selling each individual one by a basis of talking and communicating with each individual. So I usually produce anywhere between 40, 50, maybe a couple plus. That's not saying that I can't produce up to 100 plus.
Yeah.
Those low numbers,
And I,
like 40 to 50 seems like so many to me.
So, I mean, you're getting, well, just for instance, you know, to put it in perspective, my big mama, who, if you've seen any of my posts, I've had her since a baby, since the size of a quarter, that I got off Craigslist for like $40, and she looked like a piece of dirt. Now she's one of the most beautiful. Well, guess what? She double or triple clutches for me every year. So the 1 year she had 15, the second clutch she had 12, and the last one she had like 10. All within a matter of about a month. In a month and a half. So that's one female's potential. She's done that for me a few times, mostly always double clutches at least. So that's a potential for each one of my females that I can have. But then again, you know, I don't.
we're looking at pictures and videos and stuff on your Facebook of them.
They're like big puppy. If you look at all my videos, they're just big puppy, man. They really are.
We're gonna retire somewhere that's not Texas, and
so we can have them.
Then we'll get Diamondback terrapins. That'll be our retirement gift to ourselves.
Well, and yeah, most people get them because they're more of an ornamental species. You know, that's why they're so popular overseas, and that's why the people that's been doing it, the pioneers in the hobby that's been doing it longer than I have, like 20 plus years. They, you know, either got their CITES or connections where they ship all the good ones overseas, which is okay, you know, fine by me, fine by a couple of us. Be like, you know, but we also see it leaves an open market. You know, there's a whole big supply and demand here that's being untouched. But the problem also with that is that they've been doing this for 20 plus years, to where their genes are so kind of outrageous, and overseas is producing some crazy intergrades that aren't even actually purebred. So where some of these people that are going on Instagram and Facebook and seeing these people overseas and what they're producing, they're like, I want that. And we're like, not realistic. For one, you know, it's like, not to say we can't. They got scientists working for them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
that's crazy.
They got a whole leg up on top of a leg up, and you know, so. But
so I care about our disposal.
Oh yeah, like.
As long as they're not eating them, we're good. That's the other problem with turtles going overseas.
Not when you're spending 25 plus K on, you know, individuals. You know, some of these are going for 25. You know, the mangroves at one point were going for 50K a pair.
Jesus, that's crazy. So what does I don't even know. I mean, not that I can't buy one here, so it doesn't even matter. But what does your average baby? I know it's not really an average because it's such a wide range, but your average baby go for?
Mine usually goes for no less than 500.
Okay.
450 usually if it has a little bit of quirks or a split scoot. You know, but some of mine can, you know, but some of mine can even range all the way up to over 2K, you know, depending on.
And there's nothing that we can do like as educators to get a permit to have these.
No.
Like nothing.
No.
Texas is, you know, it's almost like with alligator snap. It's almost like the alligator snapper turtles down there, man. It's, which is, you know, if you care about your species, you know.
Oh, speaking of, I'm fixing to get us off on a tangent, and I apologize. What is going on with alligator snapping turtles and poaching or something? Like, I got an email from hold
US
on, I'm looking. I don't know if it was U.S. Ark or if it was Reptiles Magazine.
Because it depends, because we came from Louisiana.
Oh, here it is. It was Reptiles Magazine. It says Texas doubles the reward for alligator snapping turtle poaching tips.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while. I've worked with like Carl Franklin and stuff and talked to him and a lot of those guys down there. And that's why they've been doing a lot of surveys down there for quite some time in preparation for this kind of stuff, you know, in protection legalities for them, you know.
You just drive 2 hours east.
I say, wasn't there a hunting season there?
No, you can get them. You just have a fishing license. You can get 2 a day per vehicle.
Yeah, Louisiana, there is no, and it's probably a matter of time before Louisiana kind of follows suit. But Louisiana is one of the only states
they will
either diamondback terrapins or alligator snapper turtles that they're just kind of like still open season.
So I can tell you why. as someone who lived there for 14 years, and it's messed up, but, and I don't know this is a fact because I don't do it, but they taste good.
Well, and I found out a lot of my buddies, it's a lifestyle for them.
Oh yes.
You're messing with people's families and livelihood,
Don't take food away from coon asses. That is their food. They are going to eat the turtle. When I worked at the zoo, I got told so many times about how they wanted to eat my animals every time I was out there feeding them and taking care of them. So they will not be put on a list until it is too late and they are gone. That is when they will be put on a list, once someone can't find them to eat them anymore. But alligator snapping turtles, unfortunately, and it is crazy because every state has passed some sort of regulation on alligator snapping turtles, except for Louisiana. Like, no, they still taste good.
So
you can have 2 a day.
So according to this article, there were $11.6 million in funds raised from the TPWD Conservation License Plate Program.
Mm-hmm.
And normally the reward when you call in, if the person's convicted, it's $1,000. They've been able to double that. So it's now $2,000 to an anonymous caller who helps convict a turtle poacher.
Now, I wonder if that's just alligator snappers.
For conviction.
Because I bet you can still eat common snappers. I bet they're still.
This is everything in here just says alligator snapping turtles.
Yeah.
Because remember, we stopped one day in the road to grab that common snapper, but a guy had gotten to it before us, and he was going to get it, and he was definitely taking it home to eat it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and that's the only thing is that there is a lot of conservation effort for them, which is great. But to ban it, I don't know. It's no different than if I see the diamondback terrapins and they Florida finally do something about it or anywhere else. Like you see Chris Leone, I love him and his wife. We had him on our last podcast, and like if it was implemented for other species. Like, and we are allowed to do that, like we mentioned to even FWC in Florida. That could be pivotal for having good quality future genes and longevity for species. Like, what they're doing is they're letting them nest and letting them do their natural cycle and then, incubate them, letting them, or however they need to do it, and then releasing them. Like that way they have a continuum. And then on top of that, they're getting the community so actively involved that it's natural for them to swerve or just even stop for a turtle and relocate it because they care so much rather than it just be like just something in the way. It's
tricky. I wish in a lot of it's a double-edged sword. I wish that in a lot of conservation efforts they would allow the private sector to help more. But the problem is once the private sector helps with something, that puts a value on it, and once there's a value on something, people want to make money. And if it's in the private sector, so like I love Louisiana pine snakes. I've got a pair of them. I don't know if I'll ever breed them, but I know that there are people that have them in captivity. They can breed them much better than some of the places that are trying to breed to save them. But they're not part of the program, so they don't count and they can't do it. Right. And so I wish they could, but at the same time, if once that happens, they're like, yes, the private sector could. Then it would become, all right, well, I'm breeding them to release them, but then they're just going to turn around and sell them instead of release them. Like, oh, I didn't get any eggs this year, but now I've got a big fat bank account.
Well, that, and I feel like also sometimes if they, from a state government, whatever kind of sector, I feel like if they give a little bit of leniency or leadway of like from a private sector, that sometimes at least, and maybe from some people's perspective, if they're in that sector, they're like, man, we're giving some control over to who are they? You know what I'm saying? Like, it comes to power, right? It comes down to power, right?
Well, it's also like when it gets to a lot of it, if you don't have letters behind your name, you don't obviously know what you're talking about, even though you may be able to breed it better than any PhD or anything else. Yeah,
some of these guys in the hobby, like, Rusty Reed, that turtle man in Indiana, that's, he's my mentor. He's been working with alligator snapper turtles, for 40 plus years. That's I look to people like that to learn and glean from, not Google and all this other stuff. Like anything I want to work with and I'm not passionate about, I find who's been pioneering before me. A lot of those people you don't know because they're pioneers for us, but like who else knows about them,
So
I didn't even realize that. I guess because I just assumed since we're so close to Louisiana that they would be as plentiful here as they are there.
Well, no, okay. So
then when I saw that, it was like poaching.
It's not that they're
whoa.
It's not that there's There's definitely less than it used to be, and there's definitely less big ones, but there's still a lot out there. It's just that every other state except for Louisiana is like, hey, we should probably do something before they go
to
away.
save them. Yeah.
And Louisiana is the only one that's like, nah, we're still going to put them in a soup. So it sucks, but it's where we're
eggs
at.
and all.
Yes,
I mean,
whole thing.
but yeah, so that's. But I mean, I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface. I know even after how long I've been doing it, we haven't even scratched the surface on the potential of them. And my main mission and goal is to get them a little bit more mainstream, and to keep and not only just mainstream, but keep the value of them up, without, kind of going around a route, luckily there's only a few of us to where we can kind of police ourselves in that matter. But, the Dave Summers and some of these other people trying to undercut, no, just try to, be professional, positive, and just keep the value up on them, because I'm not going to lie, I don't care if you can afford one or not. It's like, can you afford the care and put just as much in the enclosure, if not more, in the setup?
Yeah, you just throw it in a 10-gallon tank and put a light on top of it. You're good. Yeah, and it's a turtle, so it won't get any bigger than its tank, right? That's well,
and that's the thing is, like, even if we lived somewhere where we could legally have one, we both know it doesn't fit our lifestyle right now.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, about that is a lot of people I have that they come to me and they're like, oh, I'd love one, but man, the maintenance. It's like no one, dealing with water, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
I wish I say it all the time to my buddy, one of my best friends, JK Terrapins, that does it too. And I'm like, man, why do we have to pick turtles? Why? Yeah. But it's like, I wouldn't have any other way either. But it's just like, you look in my garage and my setups and how I have, I mean, it's like a sanctuary paradise and just the water flowing. And I'm like, but it is a lot of manual labor, because I actually take all my adults out and all my babies and all my grow outs and all my juveniles, all of them, and feed them in individual setups and containers by myself.
Because I saw on your website you use Waterland tubs for a lot of your stuff, right?
Yeah, so I'm the Mideast Waterland tub distributor over here too, and they're clean, man. It's almost like you can't reinvent the wheel on these. Some people can try, but it's like, as much as if you see one of my pictures, that corner slot, I made a big monster corner slot. It has like 1,600 pounds of sand, monster nest box with a 300-gallon ramp. That's great. Put a lot of time and resource, and people are like, yeah, I can just make something. Okay, that's fine. But how much time, resources, and how much I spent on that, was more than just buying a large Waterland tub that was just as long, just as big. And it just was clean, slick, and kind of plug and play, So,
well, when I worked at the zoo, I had them order me 2 Waterland tubs, because every now and then we bring things in for the winter, and we have some small alligators that have to come in. We had some Amazon river turtles that would have to come in for the winter. And so I kept them in Waterland tubs. And I love those things. I mean, those canister filters get nasty with, 4 Amazon river turtles in there. But it is a great way to set them up. It's just filtration. That's the only thing I say. For anybody that wants to keep a turtle, your biggest thing is, as far as my experience, is filtration.
Yeah, Diamondback terrapins, there's a couple key elements that kind of not set them apart, but they're a little bit more sensitive too. And that's filtration and water temperature is a big one. We hinted on, when I tell people, when I want to set them up with a hatchling, there's a couple of key elements to where you want to mimic their natural, lifestyle and how they're going to live. And it's actually, I tell people, most people think, okay, set up a basking platform, water, and, light, and they're good. It's actually not the case. Especially for Diamondback terrapins, to where if you look at their natural lifestyle from a beginning, where they're not, most baby turtles, you're not going to see basking. And the reason for that is because they're easy to pick off. While Diamondback terrapins, if you look at, where their lifestyle is or where they live and the ecosystem and environment, they're going from the estuaries and lagoons, meeting, the saltwater and the rivers and stuff like that, to where you have a lot of tidal racks and, the beaches and kind of all that stuff, to where, they're spending most of their time, in the seaweed beds and, right, where they can kind of hide and kind of just, find, pick off little bugs and stuff, just to kind of live their first year or so of life to get some size. Well, that's how I mimic. I tell people to mimic the baby, their setup, and it's super simple. People want to actually spend all this money at these pet stores and get something that's crap.
Yeah.
And when I say, look, your basic setup, get 28 quart like mixing tub from Tractor Supply. It's not too deep, has more surface area. Tons of fake plastic plants are key because that's their mimic thing. They want to feel comfortable, secure, and hiding. And if 2-3 inches of water, depending on how big they are, to where they don't get tired of swimming, they can latch onto the plants. And then a stand-up, filter, which wouldn't be cheap, and then a submersible heater, keep that between 80 and 82, 83 degrees, keep the metabolism going. And then actually I don't offer a basking platform or anything like that, and almost to the first year, because what happens is when they go up on those basking platforms as babies, they tend to always dry themselves out, and then they dehydrate. And that's why you see I've had people come back to me like a week later after buying them, when I give them the rundown, and they're like, man, my baby's like scratching his eyeballs and just looks a little bit off. I said, okay, well, let me show me your setup. Sure enough, it's not going to be what I tell them. And it's one of those dinky, platform, and they buy it, at the stores, and like it's drying itself out.
So what you're saying is
okay,
I can't use the old school small plastic dish with the little ramp and the palm tree in the middle of it. That's not going to work for them.
No. And
not ethically. No.
One more time for all the chameleon people. What kind of plants do you use again?
Oh yeah.
Plastic.
So I have plastic plants back here for my chameleon, and God, the chameleon groups tore me apart for having plastic plants. They're like, your animal's gonna die. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not. It's perfectly fine.
And guess what? I'll even go one step further. My favorite one is the fake bamboo plastic plants. So what of it?
You don't care about your animals, Ed, and you're gonna kill them. You're a horrible person, and everyone needs
how many people can mangroves? It's like
that's 100% what people told us when we got our chameleon and we posted a setup.
He hadn't died yet.
He's gonna die. I'm like, what? No.
They're like, it's gonna leach poisons into. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, it's like, and that's the thing about, it's the hobby. It's like, I'm not saying my way is the only way, because there's multiple different ways. It's a preference in your lifestyle. Everyone, how you can do it and what you can, as long as the animal has everything it needs and more so, it's almost like, it's just, but me, I'm a breeder of these. So I have an obligation to where I know what works for my line or my animals.
Mm-hmm.
You can implement it someone else's, but I have an obligation to set you up right with what I know works, tried and true. After that, as long as it's grown and you put it in whatever, something, but it's just, other than like, I'm not going to tell another one of my buddies that does it a completely other way that your way is the wrong way, because he feeds all of his animals in the tubs. I don't like that. I don't do that. It's more convenient, and I might throw some pellets in there, throughout the week sporadically. But for my main food, and dude, my animals eat shrimp, fish. I'm cutting up shrimp and fish on 2-3 day weekly basis during season, and these guys are eating like kings with the females, and it's my wife's it's me all the time, like, these animals eat better than we do, but that's, I love that, because what happens is, if you'll notice, so not, and this is not my way or anyone else's way, but like, you'll notice, I tell people that, say one of my buddies, he feeds inside the enclosure, right? And one thing I've noticed that I've gotten animals from him, right, that are like juveniles, a year and a half old, so they got 4 or 5 inches of growth. Well, what happens is I got this animal, and what happens, you pick it up and the mouth's gaping open, and this thing will bite you. I'm like, we're gonna fix this. If you notice, like, I do my reptile programs and even my reptile shows, I can grab any one of my diamondback terrapins in my rack system or anywhere else, and I can put any one of them together, and I will not have a nipping or a biting or aggression issue. You know why? Because I socialize. I socialize and I handle on a daily basis. There's only so much you can do from a handling basis of turtles, right? You can't play with them, but what you can do is be that consistency of handling to where like I have some in the feeding tub before I came in on here right now, to where I pick them up, put them in the container, let them feed. But by me consistently picking them up, they get used to the handling, right? So not one of my animals you'll see open their mouth out of aggression, and they might not be mean, but that's just a natural reflex and instinct for them, right?
Yeah,
That
they don't
if
have.
you're
Well,
just feeding,
they also probably don't pull themselves straight into the shell, scared every time you come in and pick them up.
they're just like, okay,
Yeah.
what's up? Business as usual. Okay, let's go eat, let's go this, let's go that. It's like they're.
Yeah, they also don't associate you picking them up with, oh, I'm about to get fed. Whereas if you're feeding in a container, that could be a concern.
Well, they know they're getting moved. They're also not looking at you as, oh, I'm about to get eaten, which is really their
Right.
natural instinct.
You're not the predator.
Oh yeah, it's like, when they're babies, actually I tell people I have a lot of issues with people, and don't get me wrong, I had to find out this, to be able to implement. But I have a lot of people that, you want to feed a baby turtle in a container, because I tell them, I always encourage to feed in a separate container, but then, they want to feed in the container, and then they want to go like this. And hover over and I don't knock them, because I would too. I want to hover over and I want to watch it eat. 9 times out of 10, they might not. Mine, I try to get to the point where by the time you get one of mine, they will, the moment they hit the water. But me, the way, if you see it, on any of my videos, I have them in separate individual slots in the rack system. It's almost, I consider it's like a tackle box, and I get them socialized and eating on their own before I implement them, together to eat. But they feel they don't like people being like watched and hovered over, and so actually what I'll do is I'll throw all the food in, and I'll just close and I'll walk away. And I'll walk away for 10, 15, 20 minutes and let them do their thing, and let them do it and trust that they're eating. Right.
Well,
it's funny that you mentioned that. We have a 3-toed eastern box turtle in my classroom. She's her name's Alice. She's one of our class pets. And we took her out the other day. Every Friday we do this thing called Fun Friday. And if they have all of their work completed and they haven't gotten any like negative issues throughout the week, then they get to participate. And so last week we had a lot that didn't get their work done. They were just being lazy. And so my coworker was like, didn't you say you wanted to take some animals out? And I was like, you really want me to do that when I have half of our kids that are going to participate? She goes, yes, because next week they're going to get their stuff done. And I was like, all right, cool. So she took the kids that had to work, and I took about 22 of them. And we went and made like a big circle in an area outside of the room. And the box turtle just got to explore in the circle. And she wanted nothing to do with any food in the circle, which is very unlike her. Normally, she's all about like eating and all that fun stuff. The second we put her back in her cage, she walked over to her tray to start munching on what was there. But she was just having so much fun being out and about. And she's super, super personable, because I have 4th graders that are always in her cage space on the other side of her window, and they're the ones that take care of her. So we're constantly in and out of the cage to spray her down and change her water. And
also, I think box turtles and diamondback terrapins are 2 of the turtles that, like, when you look at their face, it's different than looking at like a red ear slider. Like, there seems to be more going on there, and it may just be the shape of their face, because it's very different than other turtles. Their eyes are very different.
Oh no, I 100%, because Alice has favorites. She has certain students. One of the kids I taught last year in 3rd grade, and he looped with me, and he will go, it doesn't matter where his assigned reading spot is. He will end up next to her cage, and he will read to her when it's independent reading time. Like, he shows her the pictures in the book and everything. Like, he'll read it and then he'll turn it to her and tell her about what's on the page. It's the most precious thing.
I mean, it comes down with lifestyle and enrichment.
She will come to whatever side of the cage he's on when he comes to the cage. The other kids, she does not do that for. She 100% does it for him. I actually had to use her as a behavior thing. He was having a day where he was off, and I don't know what made me say it, but finally I said, look, if you want to hang out with Alice today, you got to get it together, or you don't get to go over by her cage today. And he got it together real quick.
Yeah, it's just like my terrapins. You go up to the all mine. It's like they come up and not actually. I mean, yeah, they think they're going to get fed, but they're not out there mouth gaping open, like snapping. No,
Yeah.
they're coming up,
yeah.
and I'm whether it's underneath, whether it's on top. I mean, I can pet them, do whatever I want,
Mhm.
But the moment they see a piece of shrimp, then you got to then that's a whole other story because a lot of people like I feed mine specifically that kind of stuff for breeding purposes and for bulking before brumation because mine brumate
Yeah.
where I want that kind of stuff and the only problem is like I tell people I say oh I want to give them this I want to give them this and I'm like okay that's great you can give them maybe once a week a treat but the problem is all these animals they can get so quickly associated to the treat as their main source and then they'll deviate from their main source of food so I'm like hey keep them on those pellets I use Missouri aquatic turtle food I'm
Oh
a
yeah.
big advocate for those and but mine I'm for breeding but a lot of people I'm like hey just keep the treats minimal just because I've had one shut down and I had to get them back on pellets. So they're pretty sensitive too in that aspect.
Well, another benefit to feeding them in a separate container, we talked about the water thing. It keeps your water cleaner
dirty.
longer.
Oh, bro. Yeah. Yeah, you should see. I mean, they defecate, they do all that stuff. They do all their business while they're eating. So they are messy.
And they tear stuff up. I mean, like it's not like, oh, here's a piece of shrimp, and they're just gonna go, oh, I'll eat just this nice little piece of shrimp. They're gonna tear it up and claw at it, and it's gonna end up all over the place.
It's like, dude, like if I've seen the water on a daily basis, if I took this computer over into what the water looks like now 20 minutes ago, you're gonna be like, that would have been in my enclosure. And I'm like, so what is a 10-minute kind of inconvenience to do that in my aspect? And I have 3 little ones. I have a busy schedule and but I still make time to do it because in the long haul, my filter and all that stuff, that I do 3 times what my enclosure is, for filtration and still, it still takes, a while, for them to, that filter I need to change, so.
Yeah. Turtle poop is gross. It's just nasty. It's a gross.
I will say, dude, now that I have had to increase my collection, deviating from turtles, I kind of now like love my turtle realm even more so because I'm not walking into my snake outbuilding because my wife still doesn't want snakes inside. I'm going out to my outbuilding. I'm like, who did it?
Oh my God,
what I'm saying? It's but it's not like the turtles where it's like you don't smell it unless
some are definitely worse than others. I will say
my corn snakes
colubrids are gross. They hog noses are the worst. Boas tend to be not as bad. They just have large poops if you get a full grown boa, but it tends to not be as bad.
We also have a corn snake in my classroom, and when we walked in the other day, one of the kids was like, "Oh my God, what's that smell?" And one of my, because I have about 10 kids that looped up with me last year from 3rd grade, and so he was like, "Luna just went to the bathroom. It's cool. We'll clean it. It'll go away in a minute." Like totally just chill about the rancid smell coming from our classroom.
Yeah, the beardies are pretty raunchy.
Oh, beardies are all that is a gross.
I'm like, and they're the only ones that are inside my house other than the tortoises. I'm like, yo.
Oh, beardies are bad.
They are.
Sulcatas.
So other than that,
sulcatas are it's massive. Like for just the size. Like if I were to show someone the size of like a medium sulcata poop, they would assume that's a 200-pound tortoise. Like it's just that turd does not seem to be the right size out of what it came out of.
Mm-mm.
Dude, now that I'm into, because I like to work with stuff that's outside the box. If people don't probably realize that now, like, because like even when I do my programs and my educational programs, I'm like, I need to work with stuff that's gonna make me a child every time I pull this thing out and work with it, right, and see it. So if you notice what I work with the monster alligator snapper turtles, don't get me started on the green anacondas. I got that big female green Annie, and the poops are massive.
Oh yeah.
But I like to just work with things outside the box. I'm building up my black dragon and things like that to where I'm like, they're off the wall to where I can bring in 7-8 animals to a program rather than 20 that you might see off the street or in a pet store. I'm like, I can wow you, and that's kind of like my main goal with that, Well,
you own 2 of Katie's 3 favorite tortoises, our favorite turtles. So you've got diamondback terrapins, you've got alligator snapper turtles, and if you had
I do love.
If you had sea
love
turtles, she'd
alligator
be sold. But
Well, and that's the thing. I worked at the Toledo Zoo because even if you go to the zoo, and that hints on the other question that why I picked that question is that I worked at the Toledo Zoo, and I loved it there, dude. I mean, my wife's from there, so like that's why I worked there when we lived there a couple years ago.
But then you realize you wanted to make money and a living, and that being a zookeeper won't do it.
Yeah, and it just I just knew that I have that entrepreneur kind of mindset to where it worked out all in the end. Don't get me wrong, but like I just found like my niche. Even like I'll tell people and say, get an education, get experience, get all this stuff, get knowledge. But like ultimately, if you can, it's not too cliche right now to pave your own way. Like the Toledo Zoo, I absolutely love it. Obviously pay, it is what it is, but like they had a sea turtle and it was amazing. How many zoos have sea turtles, right?
Yeah.
But that's where I thought about them, like Diamondback terrapins, like how do you, a lot of facilities, they only have like, mud turtles and just, not a whole lot of variety that are like, wow, like if you have a Diamondback terrapin, I don't care who you are, that's going to highlight to you and spotlight to you. And you're going to remember that. So like, that's my main goal. But like even coming back, back to that's why I started doing my programs, because I realized coming back where I'm from in Youngstown, in Ohio, there's really not a whole lot. You got Cleveland Zoo, Akron, they're all pretty high commutes and not really making a whole lot. I'm like, I got, family. And then it turns out that knowing people in the Board of Education, they were like, after COVID, they're like, not a lot of people get to experience zoos here, let alone, have the financial, and just all this, a lot of people, it's not a high priority, right? And it's a lot easier for them to just here's a check and bring in animals that 90% of these kids, it never fails. 90% of these kids have never even seen or witnessed or experienced these animals, let alone what I'm bringing in, and it's just it's a heart tugger every time I do it, because I'm where I'm from. It's inner city, and these kids, it really impacts them, man.
I want to come back to the education stuff in a little bit, but let's go ahead and hit up the two questions. I did them separate, but we asked two questions. This first one we've kind of asked before on here, but we get tons of new listeners and some people's favorite reptile and amphibian changes. So the question was, what has been your favorite reptile / amphibian you have seen at a zoo / wildlife facility, and why? So I'm gonna go through several of them, and then we can kind of put our 2 cents in. Although I will not lie, it was very hard for me to answer this question. I got to thinking about it, and we'll discuss it in a minute. But our buddy Jason Miloradovich over at Top Line Constrictor says there's a ton, but I always like the Matamatas. Matamatas are always a cool one. And he also said the first time he saw a Fiji iguana, which the first time I saw one was not that long ago, because now the Houston Zoo has one. And I think it's freaking amazing seeing them. Fiji banded iguanas are great. That's another legality thing that I think is bullshit. We should be allowed to own them, but whatever. If Canada can own them, we can own them. I'm just saying we should be allowed to have them. I see our friend Megan said Cayman lizards. I always love seeing Cayman lizards, especially in the right setup. And then she said Santa Catalina rattlesnakes, which are a cool little rattlesnake with their non-rattling tails. Kate Summer said American mountain kings at her local zoo. Their natural coloration, in her opinion, is the most beautiful of the king snakes, and seeing representation of her local wildlife feels like inspires non-hurt people to get interested in conservation of local species. That's true. I think you need to show people what they have in their area. I'm always a fan of that. Mike Cameron said the Garioles at St. Augustine Alligator Farm. That is an awesome place. Saying if anybody is in that area, gets to go to Florida, go to St. Augustine Alligator Farm. And it's not an alligator farm, so like don't go there and go, oh no, it's not. It's a zoo. It's a zoo that just has a weird name from the 1920s and it's stuck. So go there. The Garioles they are a massive crocodilian. I don't think people understand how big a Gariole gets. It's a huge crocodilian.
Yeah, the Cleveland Zoo has one, and I'm like, it's just like
it's great.
Anything that brings you back prehistoric mindset, you got something.
That's so impressive. Jason Creekmore said sea turtles. Pretty sure it was a hawksbill. We saw it quite a few years ago. And then for Katie,
those are cool.
Seeing sea turtles in person was, we've talked about before, she cried.
That's beautiful.
I don't know if she cried at our wedding, but she cried at sea turtles.
I did cry a little bit.
Our buddy Carl England said,
thank you very much, Sam. Your dad says you always shit yourself when you see Komodos in a zoo, and he's not wrong.
because they're fucking amazing.
I mean, sea turtles are up there, man.
Ironically, the next one was Carl England, who said Komodos at the Atlanta Zoo was his favorite. Our friend Tracy Renee said the caiman lizards at the Nashville Zoo because they have a badass enclosure. I'm not going to lie. I've interviewed there before, and I've been behind the scenes, and I've been to that zoo several times just as a visitor. They have the best caiman lizard exhibit I've ever seen. It's a massive aquarium, half land with branches out over it, huge lights. I mean, it is huge. It's the reason I don't own a caiman lizard as much as I would love one, because that is the setup you need for a caiman lizard. They are not a put it in a tank or a cage kind of animal. That's the
reason why I don't have one, because I'll talk about outside the box, and I'm like, if I know realistically, that's where people get in trouble too. It's like, if you don't think you can realistically do that, then wait, be patient, and don't just because you can buy one, just because you can buy one doesn't mean,
Yeah, because they're a big lizard. They take a huge setup, and you can't just put them in a 4x2x2 cage. I mean, you could, don't get me wrong, you probably could, and because it's a reptile, it'll probably survive because they're bulletproof. But it has to really be half land, half water, and then it can't just be, I've got a big enough water dish for it to lay in. That's not how it works with them. Then you're talking about something that also needs to eat a diet of like snails and all these other things that aren't just, here's some lettuce, be happy.
Yeah.
So I agree, Tracy. The caiman lizards at the Nashville Zoo are amazing. Laura Vincel said Komodo dragons. So again, Komodo dragon, giant tortoises like Aldabras and Galops. That is the one thing I do miss from working at a zoo is my giant tortoises, working with Aldabras and Galapagos tortoises. Yeah. That's another one. They are a very personable reptile. They're awesome. Our friend Danielle said green mambas and gaboon vipers. Well, I always love seeing gaboon vipers. It's my favorite venomous snake.
Same here.
Where
the rhino viper.
I was at DC this weekend.
It was the DC Zoo.
We couldn't see it. All we could see was like 3 inches of its back, but it was blue. And then so we play this game when we go to zoo. When we go to zoos and a reptile house is
it was green.
It was blue. Oh. We cover up the nameplates, and
he says we don't play this game. James,
who covered up the nameplates?
Katie covered the nameplates for you. That was all she did.
We cover the nameplates, and then I have to guess what it is by looking at the animal without looking at a nameplate.
He does it with our daughter.
I do. But that one I was pretty impressed with myself. All I saw was about 3 inches of body inside in the shaded green tree.
I was impressed.
And I got rhino viper, so I'm just saying it's pretty good. But gaboons are my far favorite.
Yeah, that's definitely one of mine. I mean, I would love to. I've worked with venomous and done animal handling with venomous back in college and stuff like that. I love it, but part of me is also, like if I like to really work with the animal hands on.
Yeah, you can't do that with those. You can't. Well, look at that. You can't responsibly do that with
10 out of 10 does not recommend.
Yeah, and it's like from edge. If I was doing like training or venomous specific, it has to be for some specific, then then it would have a meaning and a purpose, but I don't think my wife would.
I don't know if that's Robert or somebody else, but it says the Fort Worth Zoo has them. They're talking about the Gharials. That's the one where you can sit inside the restaurant and eat, a little snack area and eat, and one whole wall is the Gharial exhibit, like the water.
That was fun.
And the Gharial will come up like right up next to the glass, and you're eye to eye with them. That is an awesome.
Well, you should see and this is way outside of, but I love Toledo Zoo because they have their own reptile house, but I love the Toledo Zoo even more so because they have one of the largest captive saltwater crocodiles in captivity right now. His name is Baru. Last time I checked, he was 1,500 pounds. I think he's about over 17 plus feet, 17 and a half maybe. They had him shipped over from somewhere Australia or something like that, I think, on a plane.
Indonesia.
He was eating cattle and stuff.
Uh-oh. You froze on us.
But yeah, he is because I'm sorry, and it was funny because the one thing I said, because I even worked security there too, and they were like, you had to check everything behind the scenes and at night, and do not go by his enclosure. We've had people the flashlight and he'd bang, and talk about on crap in the pants pretty easily.
I remember the first time I saw a saltwater croc in person was St. Augustine Alligator Farm. We went there on our anniversary, and our honeymoon.
There you go.
Our honeymoon, and it's a bus with teeth. Like, I don't think people understand how big that thing is. Like, I think people watch crocodiles and alligators on TV and they don't grasp it. Like, I want to go to Africa and see those, because those Niles that you always see eating eating zebras, they're massive. Like, I know they kind of look big on TV, but I know in person they're going to be huge. And so seeing a saltwater croc at St. Augustine in person, it's a massive animal that you just don't think exists on Earth. And then they also have their previous one stuffed. Like, they had a massive one that died, and you can go inside the building and stand next to them. I mean, the head is like from snout to neck.
You're talking about
like
you're talking about legit Lake Placid stuff,
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and it was funny.
Such a good movie.
The story behind when they went over to get the one in St. Augustine, they went to a crocodile farm over there, and they saw this massive male. They're like, "Hey, we want that male," and they made a deal and they paid for it. They said there was a female swimming around with the male, and they said, "All right, we want that female," and the female ended up being like 3 or 4 times as much as the male, and they're like, "Yeah, she makes money." The male, they're like, "Yeah, you can have the male. We can get another male.
Yeah.
She lays eggs." So they ended up buying the female too with her and brought them over. But they are just huge animals, and they are impressive.
But even more so is hippos, like, because they have the hippos over in Toledo Zoo too, and I'm like, I've seen them firsthand up close, and they just throw pumpkins and they just smash the pump. It's like, I just seen a video just the other day, and it was a funny meme video, but this hippo is just walking in on shore into this water, and these crocs are just scattering like, who's the boss here? And it's like, it's crazy, man. The cycle and food chain.
My favorite thing with hippos is there's a picture you can find. It's an artist rendering of an animal, and it shows you this weird looking animal, and you're like, what the hell is that? And it's the rendering from the skull, and they show you the skull, and you're like, that's crazy. And then they show you the actual animal, and it's a hippo, and you're like, yeah, we would totally get that wrong if we just found that in the ground and dug it up and went, this is what it looks like.
Oh, 100%.
Like, we would never have gotten that right. So you just look at dinosaurs and you're like, how wrong are we about how the fat and everything else fits on the body? Because you can't look at a hippo skull and go, that's a hippo. That's how they look. I mean, I think people underestimate how far those tusks go back. They're just massive. My dad said, we're talking about boom viper. So when I first moved to the zoo where I worked at, I moved from Alabama to Louisiana. And he said he remembers questioning my director for like 30 minutes on their gaboon bite protocol before I started working there, which was pretty much don't get bit. That was our protocol, was don't get bit.
Scary stuff. Because
we didn't have anti-venom at the time. They have it now, but my rule is don't get bit apparently.
So you mentioned earlier that you do program. I'm sorry,
we're not there done yet. Calm down, Katie. Calm down, ma'am.
I know I have a lot of different outlets and
we're an hour in, man.
Ma'am, calm down.
Move your shit. Let's go.
You're the one that got sidetracked earlier. Anyways, Ryan Goslow said Komodo dragons and crocodilians are his favorite to see. There's a picture he took of the Komodos at Chester Zoo. Joe Smith said Komodo dragons. Jared Dole said Komodo dragons and Galapagos tortoises. Jason Brumley said Chinese alligators. I love Chinese alligators. I used to work with one. I agree. They are great to see. I think that they are better than American alligators. I know I don't say that usually about like American animal. They're better than American alligators. Chinese alligators are awesome. Eleniana said an adult healthy breeding trio of Meller's chameleons was the coolest thing she's seen. And then Aaron King said giant Galapagos tortoises, which again, Galops are great. I personally like Aldabras over Galapagos tortoises in my experience. I found Aldabras to be more personable than Galops, but that was the animals I worked with. Could have just been them.
So
that's what we had at the Toledo Zoo. They had a wide range. I mean, they had the Galops, and they just got Komodos in, and I had to do the checks at night, and you go by the Aldabras, and this thing's like, I mean, I don't even know. It's just size of a freaking, hood of a car, and I'm like,
our big one weighed 500 pounds and did whatever he wanted on his schedule. And so
it's funny. Yeah, dude, they had one, and they had an enclosure outside, and they had those, the posts in the ground like this, to keep it in.
Yeah. It's
funny that I guess the one night it pushed and it somehow got out. Like it pushed those,
if they want to, they can get through a lot of stuff. When you see a lot of them in cages and stuff at zoos, they're choosing to be in that spot.
Yeah. And dude, like, and the guy who was working security that night, didn't know it got out. And he sees this giant shadow of this giant tortoise moving along the zoo, and it's like,
And a lot of times those security guys, bless their hearts, are
They're
not
not animal people.
Like they're literally there because they're security people. So they don't know what to do when that happens.
yeah,
Call someone and go
really
the
good.
opposite direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to, it was funny. There were many times I left work late, especially like this time of year where it starts to get cool at night. So tortoises go out during the day, and then you have to bring them in and lock them up at night. There were many times I left work late this time of year because I'd get over there like, all right, it's time to get him in. And he's like, nah, not going to do it. And if he's 500 pounds, you just got to wait till he feels like going inside. You can kind of convince him and do some things to convince him, but there's no like, let me just pick this thing up and move it.
So I got an email today from SeaWorld in
San Antonio.
Yep. I was going to say Austin, and I was like, that's not right. They are getting ready to add a Galapagos tortoise exhibit.
That's cool, I guess.
And I thought,
I mean, we have one here.
Oh, I know we do. I just thought that was interesting that that's what they're bringing to SeaWorld next.
So that was the favorite reptile. So let's see. Ed, what is your favorite reptile or amphibian you've seen at a zoo that you like to see?
Well, I was kind of basing upon what they. Obviously, I leaned to that question because I want to see more diamondback terrapins at zoos.
Well, we'll get to them. We'll talk about the one about things we want to see, but things that you have seen.
I said probably the thing that I have seen would have to be I'm gonna have to go with probably the saltwater croc. Just because of the just because it was just the sheer impressiveness of it. Not a lot of people can like actually give that kind of animal like what it needs. You know, that's why you don't see anything to that sheer mass in any other zoo. You know, so it's it's just not something you can just have. You know, so they think they did it right with the attraction on that one. So
see, my list is always different. I don't know. Like I really loved seeing Fiji banded iguanas this year because I'd never seen them before. But I'm not going to say they're the most entertaining reptile to see at a zoo. But they are cool in a country where we can't own them. In a country where we can own a lot of stuff, including crocodiles, you can't own a Fiji banded iguana.
So I just looked through pictures from when we were at the National Zoo on Sunday. And the only thing I took pictures of was the hingeback tortoise.
They were cool.
They were cool. But I'm like, obviously, if it was something that struck my fancy, I took a picture of it. So I'm like, what did I take pictures of on Sunday? I took pictures of those and the Arapaima.
Oh, Arapaima are amazing.
Yeah.
But as far as reptiles go, let's see. I always love seeing. I agree with Tracy. The caiman lizard setup at Nashville is great. I will go with Nile or saltwater crocs are just impressive size wise. That's cool. And
you know what I really like? I really like the outside Komodo dragon exhibit at the Houston Zoo.
I don't.
Really?
Because it's not a Komodo dragon exhibit, right?
Maybe, that's true.
It's a really 1960s bear exhibit.
Yeah.
That now houses a Komodo dragon in the warmer months.
I always just think it's cool to like find him wherever.
It is cool that
I get that. It's not a realistic.
I will agree. I do like outdoor Komodo exhibits. I love outdoor Komodo exhibits far more than I like indoor reptile house Komodo exhibits.
Yeah. And I don't really like, I'm like, if it's naturalistic, that's awesome. But I also just want it to look cool.
Yeah.
So
that was just cool because it is out in the grass and there's trees and there's stuff and it hides. But I would like to see a Komodo specific exhibit. I think that would be neat.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of that, the other question, what is one reptile or amphibian you've never seen on display and would like to, and why? So this one got some more interesting answers. So things that people...
This is all kinds of stuff I'm going to have to Google because I don't know what it is.
This one's pretty... Jeweled lacerdas. Jason Creekmore said jeweled lacerdas. They're intelligent, active, come from a countryside that looks like it could be in a backyard.
Is that a snake? Is that a lizard?
They're a lizard. They're a pretty colorful, small to medium-sized lizard.
Okay.
Medium-sized. I mean, they're not...
They're actually on my radar. They're actually on my radar to try to keep because I've seen a... because they're easy to, manage, manageable size-wise, but they're beautiful and the personality to match, I guess, for personality-wise. So I'm like, man, I forget who it was that breeds them. I forget the guy's name on Instagram, but when you find people that find their niche and they breed them and does it the right way, it almost intrigues your curiosity even more about the species, right? You know?
Yeah. Oh, I agree. One thing I did see at the DC Zoo this weekend that I don't think most people would look at and go, "That's really cool," but was a plated lizard. So
those are cool.
Normally I see in the hobby you see Sudan plated lizards, and they're very drab. They're all imports, and they're very drab brown and whatever. This one was super colorful on its back, nice and thick and healthy looking. Which is why when I first saw it, I was like, I don't know what the hell this thing is, because I've never seen
that one.
I've never seen one colorful and pretty and healthy.
Yeah, I didn't get to take a picture of that one though, because the family that was coming up behind us was taking up all kinds of space. I did want to take a picture of that one,
but that was a really pretty one. So going back to things people want to see, Cade Sommer said neotropical rattlesnakes. I've seen several of those at zoos. There's zoos that have those. Those are around, but they are a pretty one. Jason Miloradovich said Borneo earless monitors, which are cool. I'd like to see one in person, even though they're not technically supposed to be here legally. But they are. They're a cool lizard that looks like it should be a salamander, but it's not. It's a lizard.
Yeah.
So that'd be a cool one to see in person. Ryan Gosso said king cobras. He's always want to see one in person, but hasn't. I've seen lots of them. We have one here at the zoo in Houston. I know New Orleans has a huge one. I've seen there before.
That's a zoo I haven't been to in a while.
New Orleans.
It's been a hot minute
because it's expensive, and they're very proud of their zoo. Our friend April Justine said Memphis Zoo has one, so they're out there. But Ryan's also in another country, so it may be a little harder for him to find one where he's at.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Darren Watson said Cape Coral cobras because they're beautiful snakes with spectacular markings. They're a cobra in a manageable package with only a few venomous reptiles I would consider owning. Yeah, okay, we're not going with what you want to buy, Darren. That's what you want to see at the zoos. Come on, man. Answer the question. Max Hicks said dragon snakes. That'd be cool, but Max has seen dragon snakes in the wild. So, like, I get you like to see them in a zoo, but you've seen them in the wild, Max. You're cheating. You've taken pictures of them in the wild. Laura Vincel said a lot of small Asian keelback species and some of the South American colubrids. Yeah, there's some cool ones. I see like tiger. What did my dad say? Oh, I've seen was it tiger rat snakes at several zoos. And I guess some of the vine, there's some South American vine snakes that I see those at like shows for sale. But that'd be cool. Crystal Ryle said Jamaican boas. That would be neat. Although then Corey Martin had to chime in and tell everybody that she owns them. We know Corey Martin. You've got them. They're amazing. I've seen them. But Jamaican boas are cool, especially Corey. Corey's got a pair of them that are the best red color I've seen on adults. They're a cool snake, and I may have to hit Corey up for a baby at some point. Going down. See, Tony. That's way too many R's in someone's name. It's too many R's. Anyways, Tony.
Tony, I'm going to need you to phonetically spell your last name for me and
see,
message it to us.
I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Because I'm
too many R's.
I need to know now.
Too many R's.
That's going to have to go on my list before my brain.
So for anybody that's trying to, it's DOERRER. It's too many R's. There cannot be a reason to have an R in the middle.
I'm wondering if it's like do
or not do. There is no try. All right, Yoda. Tony with the last name said on display in a zoo would be. I'm gonna pass this one up. Acrocordus javanicus.
I ain't even trying.
I don't know what that is. Why are you not Googling shit, Katie?
Because.
No, I gotta.
All right, pull it up. Go back.
You Google. Hold on. There we go. Google that one. April says they have them in Memphis. Whatever they are, they're there. And then Carl Collins says we have 2 on display that I've seen caring for the past 4 years. I'm guessing that's Memphis.
It's an elephant trunk snake.
Oh, okay.
I've seen those on exhibit.
Yeah. Okay. I've held one of those before at a reptile expo. It's a weird damn thing. Speaking of elephant trunk snakes, we will. That may be a file. We'll see. I think there's a weird one later on. We're going to show that's on our.
Their eyeballs are weird.
They're an empty sock. Like they should not. They're weird. They're also a scaly.
You know what
penis.
I like seeing at zoos, and I wish we could see more of?
What?
Different salamanders.
guess,
Yeah,
but
I like salamanders.
I'm pretty intrigued by salamanders too. You know, it just almost so you just got that eye or knack for it. Like if it's your thing, or if it does it for you. For a lot of people, it maybe no. I know I
That's-
got very
Like
accustomed
aquatic
to.
lizards. That's what I love about
Well,
them.
that's why
Well,
aquatic does to me. Like anything that's kind of semi. You know, I love the water feature that.
Well, there are two that I love seeing. I always love seeing hellbenders.
Oh,
Any
yeah.
zoo. Our zoo has them. DC had them. Ton of them. DC.
Toledo has them too. Toledo actually helps with the the breeding and all that stuff.
That's what
Yeah,
DC
DC
has.
had. You can see there they had. I don't know, probably 20 of them in tanks off exhibit. Well, it's on exhibit, but off exhibit, you can see the room.
Yeah.
And then obviously the other one that's worth seeing is if you can ever see a Japanese giant, which they did have a Japanese giant salamander at DC, but it was not big. San Antonio used to have them, and they used to be really big. My dad said I need to go searching for salamanders in the Smokies. My uncle up in Virginia says he knows where he can find hellbenders. I need to go with him and catch a hellbender in the wild and try not to get bit, because that seems like that would hurt like a son of a bitch.
Yeah, them things are like trash can mouse. Yeah, I've gotten to really associate. I've gotten really associated lately of Googling a lot of things that are outside my realm, find out what species are now working at Redline Shipping. I'm like, golly.
Jamie Lee Kozler said horny toads, aka horned lizards. Used to catch them at her mom's house when they were little. They are cool. I would like to see them more. Little horned lizards. Danielle said Solomon Island ground boas. I get it, Danielle. You own them. You want to see them in a zoo. Y'all got to quit naming things y'all own. Okay, stop it. You own it. You've seen it. That is not what this question was aimed at. No. But I mean, Solomon Island ground boas, Daniel. Just go to any expo and you'll find an imported sick one or an imported pregnant one on a table. You can take it home and get you 50 babies out of that thing that won't eat. They are cool. There are like I love viper boas. I would love to see healthy viper boas at a zoo instead of sick ones I see at a show. Our friend Megan said horned lizards as well. They are an awesome one. And then there was a lot of talk about where they could see horned lizards. But I would like to see, mine's not, I don't have an exact species, but I would like to see more mixed species exhibits. I love large multi-species exhibits. Snakes in trees, tortoises roaming around on the bottom, some sort of lizards running around.
It's funny you say that because the Toledo Zoo actually does that. They cohabit in some of the reptile exhibits. They'll have some tortoises and some random some rattlesnake or something. They'll actually do that. And I'm like, man, like it's just different, right? It makes you almost like search and look for what's in here. And it's just like seeing you almost see it almost like a natural environment ecosystem in a small display of like how they would actually act in the wild if they are like cohabitating, which they are,
Yeah, and I've seen like our zoo has a timber rattlesnake, rat snake, and copperhead. They're all together in the same exhibit, which is a cool one. Or they have the one that's got like a little box turtle, collared lizard. I want to say Eurymastix.
There's like 5 different things.
It's not a Eurymastix, and I don't know why you want to say it. It's
Chuckwalla.
Chuckwallas.
There's like 5 different things in there.
Yeah, it's a desert setup.
We literally go easy once a month. Easy. I mean, we went to the Halloween thing 3 times.
Yeah. We were there last night for
this year. We were there 2 nights ago for Christmas lights, but we didn't look at animals then. But we're there all the time. I finally saw all 5 things in that exhibit after like a year of going to the zoo. I finally saw all 5 things.
I like the zoo I interned at in Alabama. They had a big mixed animals. They had big blood pythons and some tortoises and some monitor lizards that were hanging up in trees, and it was just a cool thing to see. But I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff at zoo, so there's not like one thing I'll be like, man, I want to see that more. Now that I've seen Fiji banded iguanas, that was kind of one thing I hadn't seen. I just would like to see again more large scale enclosures that are multi-species enclosures. And I know they're a little tricky because you got to do stuff that won't eat each other. And while I'd say that, one thing we saw at the DC Zoo this weekend, it had the little what is it? The little day geckos, not the big ones, but the little day geckos, and some big I think a big leaf tail.
I thought that thing was gonna eat it.
Yeah, this little day gecko was walking towards the leaf tail, and that leaf tail was just staring at it, and it would have been one bite and gone. I don't know how many day geckos were in there prior to that. I don't know if he's the only one left, But
Because he was maybe 3 inches.
yeah, and that leaf
at
tail,
max.
that leaf tail was going to take him. He was just staring right at it as he walked towards him. But
yeah. I mean, even at the I think it's the Akron Zoo, I believe. Yeah, the Akron Zoo and their Komodo and all the exhibits, like some of the bigger ones in the Amazon ones, they have, the land portion, and then they even got porcupines up there in some of the ones, and then they got the Amazon, all the turtles and fish and stuff like that. It's just cool seeing that, the natural ecosystem thing if you do it right, on a bigger scale.
And you get to see all those animals interact with each other, so that's always kind of fun to watch as well. So I'm a big fan of mixed species done right. All right, so let's jump over to your education. Katie and I are both teachers, so education stuff is cool. And Katie used to run education department at our zoo, and we've done several outreach programs here or there. So,
I mean,
you're wearing yours.
Today was our first zoology club meeting at our school.
That's true.
Nice.
I have 31 kids that signed up and made
so
it through.
So how do you do that? Because actually, that's one thing I want to start implementing on a bigger scale. Because my wife actually teaches at my high school that I went to. She's a biology teacher.
I'm a biology teacher in high school.
And I'm like, you know what? How do I implement some kind of program or something? Because I want to get almost a curriculum or something established where these on a bigger scale than just doing programs, right? It's it's cool to do that, but it needs to be on a consistent basis.
So
there's not a whole generation there's not a whole.
What? I was talking about
no, it's my turn.
What I'm doing.
It's my turn.
My plan.
Go
ahead.
Turn your microphone off.
Turn it back on.
Okay. So my zoology club is actually open for pre-K through 5th grade. But my pre-K, kindergarten, and 1st graders, they don't stay after school to meet. But when we if we're planning a trip to the zoo on a Saturday, so they will be included in the group rate. So basically families will be able to come to the zoo. I'll be there. If they have questions about anything, I'm going to have a scavenger hunt for them to do. They'll get the group rate, that sort of stuff. So the littles get included in that as kind of fun stuff. And then our older kids actually create activity books that they can give to these younger kids. Last year we did a scavenger hunt where my 4th and 5th graders did research on an animal. They found a stock photo online that they liked. We printed the stock photo out, and then they created a Google slide for all the animals, and we taped the pictures of the animals around the school, and the little kids had to go find them. So that's the kind of stuff we do. We don't really have a set curriculum, but I'm also working with 11-year-olds and younger.
So can I comment?
And now you can talk about that.
Okay. So what I have plans for is I got cages made for it, but I've got no cage. I've got a room that's off of my room, but it lines up to the hallway. There's a big window, so a big viewing window. I'm going to build it out with cages there and fill it with animals. And the plan is to basically turn it into a club. So the kids will come in the morning or the afternoon, do all the cleaning, watering, and feedings. They'll be in charge of taking care of all the animals. I'll just be there for supervision. And so that is kind of the goal, is to basically have this small zoo in the school that kids can walk in the hallway and see. So even kids that aren't part of it can walk by and see these animals every day and see what they're doing.
Oh, wow.
The small group of children a small group of kids will be able to come in and do the actual cage cleanings and set up cages the way they'd like to and prepare diets and all that kind of stuff. So that is my long-term plan. Is got to get some cages made.
That's actually pretty that's pretty awesome, especially from the initiative you all the other kids get to see. So it's you're able to let them be a part of it and spark any curiosity that they may have. Because that's the biggest thing. I went to school for it, but I turned down a full ride to go to some prestigious school, to pay for school to go for wildlife management, because I'm I want to be hands-on, but how many people actually know that intentfully know what they want to do with their life, or unless an option is presented. I've talked to the tech schools around here and was a guest speaker in the animal science vet department. And, a lot of these kids, that's great outlet. But sometimes if that's the only outlet, then they're going to do it. And that's great. But there's so many options when it comes to wildlife and conservation or zoological. There's so many options to where yeah, you can try your field on what, get your feet wet in different avenues. If I did, I mean, I worked, down in Florida at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I worked at, some of the sanctuary work. I did, the zoological. I did, also aquatic biologist down in Florida for the, the region. Like I've done it all to find out where I want to be now. But, it's like how many people get that opportunity, to do that, so man, like we got to come up with some kind of like something, for these kids to just get exposed to, that's why I love the education around.
So the application process at my school for my club is a little more lengthy than a typical, I'm going to sign up for this. So my students, even my second graders that do this. So like I have 7-year-olds that do this. They have an application that they have to fill out, and depending on their grade level, it gets a little more in depth the older they get. They have to have either their teacher or a family friend write a letter of recommendation explaining why they should get to participate. And they actually have to fill out a behavior form that their teacher from the previous year and the teacher from the current year has to do. And that was one of the first things I told them in our meeting today. I mean, I had 31 students crammed into my classroom that only has 22 desks. I mean, like I had to borrow my coworkers' computers just so we could sign on and do everything today. But I told them the first
notes because you got some good protocol.
I'll email all of this to you because everything's on Google Forms and you can just copy and edit.
Because like you said, as much as you want to have everyone involved, really it needs to be that small niche.
So then they also have to write a letter explaining why they want to be a part of it. And then I have a committee of 4 other teachers on campus. I don't even go through all of this stuff, but those 4 teachers will go through all of these letters for me.
I know we originally talked and I know my plans are, and I don't know if it's changed for you. It wasn't so much membership wasn't based on grades.
No,
it was based on grades. It was based on behavior.
Yes.
Because some kid may not have great grades, and this may be a great chance for them to finally have a reason to come to school.
Yes.
And to get involved.
Yeah.
They just got to have good behavior. That's all you got to do.
So those 4 teachers, like I said, I like buy them lunch or dinner one day, and they do this for me. It actually counts towards other stuff in the school that they're helping out with. So everybody wins. But then they have a rubric based off those recommendations. I take the top ones they recommend. I take, I don't. And we had one who had already been, by the time we got the applications, he'd already been written up and sent to the office. He constantly got in trouble in classes. And so what I did is I pulled my principal and I pulled that student and their parent, and I made a conference. I don't even teach the kid. Like he's not even in my classes, but I set up a conference and I said, look, you already don't qualify for this club, but this is what the teachers that read your application want me to do. They want you to be on probation between now and Christmas. And this was last month. If you don't get any more referrals to the office and you show better behavior over the next 2 months documented, then in January, you can come on a trial basis to see. And he, in just the last month, has already improved his behavior in class. He's not getting in trouble as much anymore. He hasn't been sent to the office. And it's because he knows, and he passes by my classroom every day to say hello. And that's what I want. Well,
it's like my dad said here in the chat. He said, just being exposed to someone like you all who are obsessed with the hobby/profession is enough to get some kids involved. You should think about teachers that impacted you in high school. So for me specifically, he said it was Johnny Coleman, who was my 9th grade high school biology teacher.
Oh my gosh.
In
25 years ago?
1999.
25 years ago, James. Yeah. 25 years ago.
But that person, I mean, I loved biology. He was super, he was a hippie, and he made everything very interesting, and he enjoyed what he did, which is another reason why I want to do this. Look, I'm a hard-ass teacher. I know I am. I am mean by design. I feel kids need to learn how to deal with other people and deal with situations that don't make them happy because they have to do it. And so I am not the nicest teacher. But most of my kids, after 2 years, once they're like juniors or seniors, they get it. Freshmen just don't get it. But I would like to do this because it gives me something that I can get them back to me later when they're older and involved, and they can see that side of okay, I may be an asshole, but here's something cool this asshole likes.
Yeah.
So we can enjoy this together.
Well, the biggest thing is you might seem like you're hard, but but it also shows that you care enough to be like that. Because a lot of people. the kids appreciate that because they're just getting like slaps on the hands and pats on the backs. It's like,
I
no,
don't
no, no,
spoon
no.
feed anybody anything, and I'm not your
Or
mom.
even like
I'm
you
not
said,
cleaning
like,
up after
and
you.
even like you said, but you can be hard on the person, be like, hey, look, you don't qualify, but it doesn't mean you're just going to disqualify them like for
Correct.
like what they expect someone to write them off for the long haul rather than being
Correct.
like, hey, look, like you have an option here, and let them know like we care.
And that's actually
'cause
what his
these
mother
kids,
said.
these kids don't see that people care enough, and they just write them off, and that's why they keep going down the same behavior route, you know?
Yeah,
So,
we at the end of that conference, his mom asked him to go sit like in the lobby of the office, and she told us, she said, we've had people in the past who, okay, he's a bad kid, we're gonna write him off. She said, and you're giving him an opportunity to change because there's something he wants. She was like, I can't. She's like, you're not even his teacher. You don't even teach his grade level. You're a club sponsor. And so my principal was pretty excited.
Like me, yeah, and you're even talking about someone like me. Like I actually work with the lifetime mentorship program with the police department, so I go in there voluntarily, and I got like I'm responsible for like 2 kids they think have a lot of potential. You know, sometimes they don't have the hunger, but like because I feel like these kids, they just get, especially you're talking about inner city. You know, I'm in the ghetto area where these kids definitely don't have that, and they get rodden off instantly. So it's like, man, dude, like when they see someone cares on that base to base level, you know, I'm like, look, you can have your parents, you can have teacher influence, but having someone that's not getting paid, that's coming here voluntarily, showing that they care about you, and that still shows up, that's still trying to, you know, implement this kind of stuff, then they're trying to see like, and especially with me, like it's special for me because like I do that because no one else can do that unless they walked a quarter mile in their shoes. You know, you're talking about a hard life that these kids are living to where I can't speak into these kids' life or expect them to even listen to me unless they think like, you know, unless I'm like real with them, be like, hey, look, I've been there, man. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't spoon fed either, you know?
Yeah.
So
I don't believe in participation trophies.
Yeah.
One of the first things I tell my parents at the beginning of 4th grade, in every school year, I'm like, look, I don't believe in homework. So if your kid comes home with homework, it's because they didn't finish something in class. So figure out why they're not finishing their work in class. But also, I don't believe in participation trophies. So they've got to earn everything they get in my class.
I'm also, look, like I said, I'm a jerk, but I'm a jerk to everyone equally. And I don't hold me being a jerk against your grade. Like if you earned a grade, you earned a grade. I don't hold any of that against them, but I'm going to be tough. And I tell them all the time, like I'll tell them the truth. Like I have one kid who I honestly wish he was not in my class and was somewhere else, but he has like a 2 in my class right now. And he's like, do you think I'm going to pass? I'm like, no, you're going to fail, dude. He's like, well, that's not nice. I'm like, you have a 2. Like, that's how math works, man. I don't know what to tell you. You're going to be here again next year. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, man, you got a chance. No, sometimes they need to be told the truth because too many people will be like, you can do it. And I'm like, no, sometimes they need to be told they need to work harder or they're being a turd. Stop being a turd. Like, that is a choice that you have made to be a turd.
So. A
So.
lot of people, you know, aren't just the individualism isn't really encouraged. It's like they just want to go with the crowd, you know. And it's like, man, like, you know, I see it all the time with my wife, man. My wife's like, oh, especially now with this next generation, you know, that's my
so
feeling. That's why I feel like it's even more evident, you know, and crucial now to infiltrate and try to just get to these kids' heart because, you know, I don't see it as just any kid. I see it as like our next generation. And I'm like one kid, like you guys can probably attest, like one kid, somebody, you know, was impactful in your life that you've seen, you know, that kind of just walk the walk and talk the talk. And, you know,
I 100% can tell you exactly who it was for me.
I say Uncle Mike from over at Mike's Monitor said, slap him with the truth.
I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt.
Slap him with the truth.
I wonder if my principal will allow me to wear that to school.
I just want to want to slap children with the truth.
I want to slap kids sometimes, but it's not necessarily.
But your wife teaches high school. She sees it. I don't think.
His wife is probably a kind-hearted teacher, though, not like you.
No. So she's pretty hard, and she's like some young blonde, and like actually all the teachers in my high school thought she was just gonna kind of just get like trampled over, and like she's actually in.
She holds her
she's been there
own.
for two years now. That the kids respect her more than any of the other teachers there right now. And it's
But
Yeah.
she deals with
one hard ass.
she deals with
to another.
But I guarantee she deals with the whole like people just don't understand how kids are today, because you always get the kids have always been this. I'm like, no. It is a different world now. And the moment you tell someone the truth or tell them that something they don't want to hear, oh my God, you're the worst human on earth. I'm like, dude, the things the teacher said to me when I was younger, like, I deserved most of it. And I understood it. I didn't be like, oh.
Well, the thing is, we at least had some discretion, back in the day. It's like, we had our phones on you. We were allowed to keep our phones. It's not, we'd maybe hide a text or something like that.
Yeah, that's how I know you're too young, because we didn't have phones.
We didn't have phones in high school either. I had a pager
at one point.
Now I will say it was like the old
How
kind
old?
of
Can I
Virgin
ask
Mobile,
how
like
old you are?
it was like the prepaid phone, so it wasn't like I didn't have the.
Can I ask how old you are?
How old am I?
I know that's what I want.
I'm going 28.
I thought one of our second grade teachers was straight up like 25 today, and she's a year younger than I am. I was like, I had you 10 years younger than you actually were. She's like, you're my new best friend.
How far off am I?
So I just turned 33.
I wouldn't have guessed that though.
I mean, it was within.
You were just under 30.
I was within 5 years. I figured I would be within 5
You're
years.
not that much younger than us. Only 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and that's with the education thing, and because like another thing that kind of, not only that, I got a tail end of the education thing that really like sparked me back, because if you work with a species for so long, you can not say you get bored, but it becomes monotonous, right? And it's a system to where this actually has revitalized and re-sparked my passion for reptiles, because I'm getting to keep reptiles that I only dreamed of having and owning, but now they're serving even a bigger purpose also on top of that, and not just keeping, because I'm very particular on what I keep and what I get and what I bring in, because I invest so much time from an interaction education standpoint on every animal. My animals, I consider them my family, to where, my animals aren't just coming out conveniently to feed or clean or anything like that, or even for me to handle. Like, they're coming out with my family. I'm bringing them out in the yard. Like, we're getting interaction and all this kind of stuff, to where they get a lot of,
How often do you
enrichment.
do educational programs?
Couple a week. So it depends on the season. I mean, like during the summer is pretty dang, booming almost every day, almost every other day. Then you got the fall festivals, and the trunk or treat Halloweens are huge. I mean, I was
speaking
nonstop,
of,
dude.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
What you did?
Remind me to talk to you about math and science night.
Way to bring up something that didn't need to be brought up right now. Good job.
I won't remember.
Good.
I'm sorry, Ed.
Good job.
No, you don't go apologize. If it's fresh on your mind,
You
right?
should apologize, Katie. That was inappropriate.
I was asked.
See,
about
see,
that
see,
today,
see,
and
I knew he was going to do
forgot
something like that, so I let him be the bad guy in this matter.
all the time.
Also,
I don't even pay attention anymore.
I was going to say,
He obviously told me about you like 3 times, and
I was going to say,
that-
Mike over
that
at Mike's Monitor said his 5th grade teacher, Pot Roast Peterson, told him you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket, and jokes on him. Everyone does now.
oh,
That is true, but they don't know how to use it.
oh,
They don't know how to use it.
Our daughter
Nor do
actually
they want to.
downloaded like a graphing calculator app
Yeah.
to help her, because they get to use it on their tests in her class.
Which is BS, because some of those apps will just solve shit for you.
Yeah, this one does not though. Like, this is the app that the teacher approved. So
I've seen some of those things where like they can take a picture of the math equation and it will just solve the math equation from a picture.
I mean,
Yeah, this AI stuff and all this other crazy stuff.
you trust your student. Like, he gave us he emailed me the test at the end of the day on Friday and was like, just tell her to turn it in when y'all come
he also
back
told
from
her
the funeral.
He also told her he wasn't going to hold it against her that she didn't know the stuff that she wasn't there to learn.
I mean, like, who does that?
I-
This man is awesome.
He's nicer than me, because I'd have been like, tough shit, you should have learned it. I don't know what to tell you.
This was
You
the one that
should
she
have asked somebody.
did not want to have at the beginning of the year either.
Yeah, he was nicer than me, because I've straight up told kids when they've walked in to take a test, they'll miss the day of the test and they'll come in the next day. I'm like, all right, you have a test, but I wasn't here yesterday. I was like, I know, that's why you have it today.
So our daughter is 2 grades ahead on her math. So as a 7th grader, she's taking a freshman in high school math class.
Oh.
And
That's true. My dad said the calculator, the TI, whatever, cost more than the phones back
no
then. They were
joke. I told her we weren't buying her own. She could just borrow yours.
My TI 86
That still works.
from 19 or from 2000, I think, is when I got it. It still works. It's great.
Does.
I love that calculator.
That's awesome.
Sorry.
I want to do so every week we run through some of the things overall. We have a discussion Facebook page, and I want to go ahead and pull that up. There were some interesting things that got put on there this week. So I'm going to pull that up on the screen so that Chris Eaton doesn't fuss at me for not having it up here. This first one, Travis Wyman shared. It was someone posted. It says, "Can someone ID? It's a snake in a cage. It's obviously in a cage. They've already bought it. So can someone ID? I'm thinking it's a common green snake. Anyone know how to tell the difference between rough and smooth greens? Yeah, probably, but that's not what this is. This is a vine snake, you dumbass. Like, stop going to an expo and going, that's pretty, and then taking it home. Don't do that. Because that's guaranteed heavens. But I just thought that was funny. Someone showing off their corn snakes that they produced. That's cool. Speaking of zoos.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Let's see. Just listen to episode 17 where they are on about zoos. Yeah, way to go for listening to episode 17 from years ago at this point. Go to Crocodiles of the World in UK and you can pay to feed a Komodo dragon. Jeez. All right, now you're just paying to do their job. That's messed up. You're just paying. They're like, oh, I can save time in the day and we can make money. You go feed this thing while I go clean poop somewhere else.
Right.
This is what I wanted to show. Okay, it can't read whatever that's written in, but that is it's a leucistic elephant trunk snake.
I don't even want to say what that looks like. I don't even...
Yeah.
I mean, the elephant trunk snake, it looks like a penis.
I saw him scrolling through and was like, whoa.
They all look like
what
penis.
Are we looking at on Facebook?
They all look like penises. That's how they're designed. Fleshy, limp penises.
Dude, you can like see like all the definition and it's like and everything. That's so weird. Like
so strange.
Look how thick that thing is. That thick, super thick trunk. Anyways, that was really cool. It's leucistic.
Wow, where is that at, man?
I have no idea because let's see. When I peel off, no clue. Got nothing. But it's cool. We talked about them earlier, so I just want to bring it up there. New breed of extremely venomous snake discovered in Australia. Why? Because why not? There wasn't enough shit in Australia to kill you. There's a new one.
Wow, really?
So
that took long enough, huh?
Enjoy this new snake in Australia that can kill you, along with all the other snakes in Australia, and ants and spiders and crocodiles and great white sharks and octopus and everything else in Australia that wants you dead.
For real.
It's a cartoon. It's crocodile and alligator. It says, "See you later, alligator." After a while, crocodile, and then it says, "Sadly, the gharial gets no formal goodbye."
That was funny. I love that one.
So, poor gharial.
I will say I want to almost take it back to where you said what was one of the coolest things in a zoo. I thought about it for an extra hot minute, and there was one thing else that I was like, I saw that I've never seen anywhere else. That the Toledo Zoo actually had the coral snake.
Oh yeah, we had them in Alexandria, but like it was only for a little while because you can never get the damn thing to eat. So like if someone caught one,
that is one thing they do. Yeah, they had trouble eating. Yeah, that's one thing they mentioned.
This whole article.
I didn't. Did you read this? Just the title here says National Park Service begs people to stop licking this psychedelic toad.
Yeah.
It's been there this whole time.
What do you mean it's been there?
I just realized I was sitting next to a snake.
You're sitting next to 3 snakes.
Yeah, I just realized that though. Like I've been here for an hour and 45 minutes.
You knew I put them in here.
But I don't know why. I turned my head and was like, "Oh shit, there's a snake right there."
There's 3 of them.
Oh my god.
They're in quarantine right there.
The psychedelic toad. I can't believe I interrupted that one. What the hell, people?
Stop licking toads.
Don't put things in your mouth.
Also, you're sitting next to 3 really awesome snakes.
They are very cool.
They're Calabar's burrowing boas, and they're freaking amazing.
Nice. That's the thing that got us in trouble with the turtles with the 4-inch law. It's putting them in our mouth, man.
Don't put shit in your mouth. Don't put fingers in cages either.
Oh yeah. Katie was out for a day, and a kid put a finger in the guinea pig cage and got bit.
So I got a new kid on a Friday, and then on Monday I woke up running a fever, so I couldn't.
Got a fever.
I couldn't go to school,
Only one
And
cure for that fever is more
I
cowbell.
get a text message from my coworker, and she's like, "Oh, by the way, the new kid put his finger in the guinea pig cage. She bit him hard enough that it drew blood, and he needed a Band-Aid." And my first thought and my question was not, "Is he okay?" But it was, "What the fuck was he doing to my guinea pig? She doesn't bite anybody." And
He had to have poked her or something.
well, we talked about it the next day, and I made it very clear to him that I care more about my animals in my classroom than I do his finger. So he needs to make better choices.
I bet she sniffed his finger and then he poked her in the face. She said, "Oh yeah, bitch," and then bit it.
Because I mean, I was so pissed.
At least he wasn't licking toads.
Well, I can even attest to that. My kids know better. My kids always know, do not put your fingers down there. You know, not to say they won't usually bite, but you know, you got a little kid putting their finger. Sure enough, man, my 4-year-old daughter, man, luckily it was a male, so it was smaller, man.
And it wasn't the alligator snapping turtle.
No, and the little diamondback terrapin and the little boy then she started screaming, and he latched on. He was holding on tight, you know. I was like,
we had a Girl Scout that got bit by a sulcata tortoise one time.
She's feeding the sulcata, and she just like zoned out, and then as it ate its way up the lettuce, we're like, drop it, right on the finger.
Yeah. That was the first time I ever had to do first aid with my Girl Scouts that wasn't our own kid. It was kind of nice.
What's so funny? It's funny with my educational programs, I always bring Rex, Rex is my smallest alligator salmon turtle. He's about 70, 75 pounds. And the first question is always, have you ever got bit? I'm like, all I got to do is, I'm like, you know.
Yeah, I got all 10 fingers. I always know from this.
I always love when people like talk about me being a zookeeper and they're like, "Well, did you ever get bit by venomous snakes?" It's like, no, I was good at my job. I don't know. I mean, as long as you're good at your job, you're never in a position to get bit.
Yeah.
Travis Wyman posted this week. It's a guy stretching as it's getting ready to ask this group a question, knowing full well it's been asked 100,000 times, but I refuse to use the search feature made for this scenario, which is every Facebook group. Wonderful little Eastern Desert fat-tailed gecko. That's a cool looking little gecko.
Yeah.
It looks like
it's body.
Yeah, it's a really long body, and it looks almost constipated. That big old fat
He's doing the cat cow kind of stretch, you know, up in the downward dog, you know.
This is the yoga lizard. It's a yoga gecko. Yeah. This was awesome. Did you see this one? Where the person made a jumping spider out of pumpkins and corn.
That's even more terrifying than a real jumping spider. That's even more terrifying than a enormous jumping spider.
That is freaking awesome. Imagine that on someone's doorstep at Halloween. My God.
That is so cool. We're totally doing that next year.
I am not. You can. That is more effort than I have in me.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just spray paint something instead. One of my kids today, I have a jumping spider. I have a regal jumping spider in my classroom too. I have like 8 different. I teach English, by the way. I don't even teach science. But one of my kids in zoology today, they were like, "You have a jumping spider." I'm like, "Well, yeah. Why is it so small?" Because it's a jumping spider. That's the size they are. This was a second grader, so the kid was 7, and they were like, "I've never seen one up close before like this." I'm like, he doesn't do much. He hangs out in his web unless there's food. Like,
yeah,
it was just funny.
Yeah, Mike mentioned what the fuck?
Speaking of jumping spiders, guess what's on Netflix?
Yeah, I know. Calm down.
Are you? So you don't like jumping spiders? You don't like spiders?
I'm not against spiders. Oh. It's not my thing. It's not my thing. But
so Lucas, the jumping spider, who everyone should be aware of, it's the little cartoon. Animated cartoon that like
has a movie now on Netflix.
Oh
Moving on. Mike mentioned the irukandji, the little jellyfish, little box jellyfish. That's the one in Australia that will kill you, along with the blue ring octopus and everything else that wants to kill you. Going back to over here, Nathan posted a picture of a striped copperhead that was caught in Louisiana. I think I've seen that one actually from.
That's cool.
I think I saw it before I posted when it got caught, but that was from Louisiana. That's cool. What is this? Oh, someone's cage build that. Robert, hundreds of small animals missing from Humane Society may have been fed to reptiles. Oh. That's kind of messed up.
That is rough.
That does not look good on us. These have been floating around a lot lately. These AI versions of Lego sets for realistic looking reptiles.
Yeah.
They are AI, everybody. They're not real. Don't get your hopes up. Everything is still very blocky and not going to look like this. I've seen it in so many places.
The bearded dragon keeps floating around.
Yes. I've had a couple people like send it to me in a message.
Video of a Mugger's crocodile catching a deer. This is pretty cool. I watched this one the other day. these or antelope or deer, whatever they are. They walk down the watering hole. This mugger's crocodile. It's a watering hole where everything's dried up, and it has to bury itself down in the mud because there's not enough water to cover its body up. So it makes this big wallow right at the edge of the water.
I've seen that.
And then, it's an awesome video. Go watch it. It got posted by 2 different people. It's on there twice. You can go see it. I posted this. It's a guy saying, my toxic trait is I don't reply to messages. The woman says, my toxic trait is I never refuse a glass of wine. And the Komodo says, my toxic trait is venom that acts as an anticoagulant, ensuring my victims bleed out over a period of days. That, and I listen to Nickelback, which is bullshit. I like Nickelback, and people need to quit making fun of them. Stop it. Nickelback is a good band. You're just upset they make tons of money. They can't be that bad if they make that much money. I say that. NSYNC still sucks, but Nickelback's good. So, and then Jason Moore posted this little guy. Look at this guy, Katie.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's
awesome.
Some sort of gecko. Does it say? I have no idea what kind of gecko it is, but the
eyes
on the
those eyes look like they look like they're straight from the pit of hell.
It looks like
doesn't look
it
like the Lord of the like a Lord of the Rings kind of
thing,
or like the velociraptors from Jurassic Park. Just focus in on you.
Right.
But that was really cool. So that was stuff that got shared over there on our page this week. So anybody wants to take a look at that?
Excuse me, you missed one.
What did I miss?
You missed my post.
Which one?
Oh no,
I disagree. Is it the one that from today that I just ignored?
No.
What? Do you even know what
Where
post?
is it?
What is it?
It was the one where I said, "How do you know?"
Oh yeah, I ignored that. That's from today.
I posted that yesterday. Thank you very much. Not today.
Well, I posted it when I put the questions yesterday.
Yes, I was. It's a good post,
Here it
James.
is. How do I know when James Lewis has posted the question for the week?
I'm very violent.
When my Facebook alert starts blowing up with the responses. I really do love our listeners. There, I read your post.
You are not fun tonight. You can fend for yourself for food.
I have a car. I got money.
No, you don't. We have a trip tomorrow.
I guess you better go make dinner then after this.
Ramen.
Speaking, it is getting close to that time because I have not eaten. It is getting late, and we got to pack for our trip.
I know. I totally have no idea where the last hour and 50 minutes went. Like normally by this time, I'm like, okay, I'm starving, or I've got to go pee, or something.
Good.
But like, this was great conversation.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
and plus, we got to talk about Diamondback Terrapins, so it's never bad when you can talk about Diamondback Terrapins.
No, never at all. Anytime.
No,
you
next time I'll have to bring some on to show you. So
yes.
Give you
Robert next time too.
Yeah. How about like in the spring when they wake up, and then we'll get some I'll do a little video tour. We'll do a
tour.
That'll
be fun.
And next time we'll have Robert here, and we can talk about hunting because Robert is hunting. I don't hunt because it's an expensive hobby, and I already have enough expensive hobbies. But Robert does, and so we get into the other part of outdoors here.
Yeah.
I'm tagged out for the season, so I'm good. I got my buck, and I'm pretty tagged out, so I'm good. I'm happy.
I just want to go shoot a pig. Since I've moved to Texas, at some point I'm going to shoot a pig. That is my goal.
I did do that. I did that one time down in Florida when I lived down there, and I didn't shoot anything. I actually did it old school because that's how this kid did it, where he ran the dogs with GPS, which was crazy. They're like, "We got to go after my dog." I'm like, "Okay." And we started running, and this dog's like 1.5 miles away. I'm like, "Stop your dog from running." And no, it's bait up. It's bait up. Gets his dog, this hog bait up, and and I'm like, I got no crash course. He's just like, I'm just going with it, right? And he's like, and the hog's, bait up, and this thing charges him. He jumps out of the way. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then it runs right past him. I grab the back of the legs just from instinct, up and over, and lay on top of it. And he just looks at me like, I'm like, "Bro, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Dude, I've never seen anyone do that first time." I'm like, what do you want me to do? I said, "What do you want me to do?" I said, "You just moved out of the way of a charging, and you hog tied it." I'm like, "Crash course, huh?" I said, and but what he does is
I'd rather just shoot it from distance. I don't want anywhere near
it. They're stinky, they're nasty, but I tell you what, man, I was like, bro, talk about an adrenaline rush. My heart was pounding, and because what he does is, he sometimes castrates them and then he'll let them go, so that's when they get massive.
So I used to teach at a little country school, and my kids would catch hogs and then cut their nuts off and let all the testosterone work their way out of the hog and then kill it and eat it. because apparently the testosterone makes the meat taste bad, and so they wait for the testosterone to work its way out, kill it, and eat it, and it tastes better. I was like, I'll take y'all's word for it. My dad said that's why God created AR-15s. Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, if people want to get a hold of you for any reason at all, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Just Komara Outdoors on everything. You know, I'm on IG, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok. I try to be on TikTok, but you know, that, and just also, you know, reach out to me at Komara, hence the Komara Outdoors. Personally, you know, I always love to reach out to people and connect with people on a personal level, not just on my page. So Ed Komara also. So
yeah, and if you're not in Texas or one of the other states where you can't own really cool turtles, talk to them about getting a Diamondback Terrapin, because it's an awesome turtle. And like I said, I've taken care of them before. If you've ever had like a red ear slider, it's not a red ear slider. It's a million times better than that.
That, and you know, I don't think I hit it on it, but Diamondback Terrapins, the reason why I'm so, you know, I love them so much is that they're like a fingerprint. Not one is ever the same, and you can never recreate that. So that's why after 13 years of working with them, producing them, I've never not fallen. I've just fallen more and more in love with them because they're all different and unique. You know, but yeah, a lot of people, I always get this every year, it never fails. I always get people messaging me in the springtime for them, and I'm like, they're just waking up from brumation in March. And you know, then, you know, I usually, they, you know, are going till my first clutches is no sooner than June, 1st of July. And then I even wait about 2 months plus to make sure that every one of them's eating, packed on solid growth before I even start to, you know, rehome them. Usually by end of August, September. And I don't, you know, usually by the time, you know, October rolls around, I'm usually sold out because I have a wait list. People will just contact me, you know, left and right, and I just put them on a wait list because they're not going to go anywhere else. There's not many big places you can find them. So, you know, so
that's one of the species I always tell folks, especially people that breed common stuff. Like, find you a species that's not that common, because the great thing about the not common stuff usually is you don't tend to have them for a long time after they're ready to go. Like, some people are sitting on like ball pythons for a year and a half, 2 years. I'm like, find you a species that's not that common. They sell pretty quick. So I imagine Diamondback Terrapins don't sit around a long time.
And the thing is, they only increase in value. So I have no problem holding anything back that doesn't sell as quick as I want, because it doesn't matter, because they're only going to increase in value. And I don't do it for the reason of selling them. I do it for the reason of just loving them. So I will always take, you know, responsibility for every animal I produce.
So
awesome.
So reach out to them.
Don't forget about your VivTech bulbs.
Oh yeah, VivTech bulbs. Use code Gumbo22 for a good LED UVB bulb.
Yeah.
LSReptileRats.com. Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say VivTech too. Ryan and Erica, I'm on board with them too as a ambassador. So I back you guys also up with that. So
I love Ryan and Erica. Their products, I will stand behind them. So they're amazing.
We won't be recording next week for Thanksgiving, but with all the holiday things going on, if you are interested in getting one of the animal tracking bracelets and supporting the conservation stuff with Phalo. I know I've talked about the bracelets before. It's FAHLO. They just came out with a new conservation. They have gorillas now.
You can track your gorilla.
You can track your own gorilla. All the money goes to whatever the animal conservation
I personally like the sea turtle or the shark. Isn't it a shark?
Yeah, they just,
because you can track those and they go long range. And
cool. Yeah, it's pretty neat. So there's all kinds of really cool stuff those just came out with. And then the giraffe hasn't been out for very long either. So now you have tons of options.
Yep. And if you want to get a hold of us,
it's bedtime.
Oh, bed lights have gone off. Okay. If you want to get, I said the lights went off on me. If you want to get a hold of us, it is the Reptile Gumbo Podcast at gmail.com or on Facebook or on Instagram.
You didn't change the timer. Normally it's at 10 o'clock and there was a time change.
I need to change the timer.
Yeah.
Also,
it is 10 o'clock here, but
yeah, I want to throw out, go check out our website again. Our awesome listener Nathan has done an amazing job on our website. If you've wondered about any guest we've had on the 191 episodes we've done, he's got the whole rundown of every guest, their name, where they're from, and what episode they are on. So go check that out. Nice. Got all of our sponsors on there. I'm gonna talk with him. I'm gonna get our store linked to it. So if you want a shirt or anything, you know that. Hey, look, somebody listening is from Louisiana.
Cool.
So yeah, go check out our website, thereptilegumbopodcast.com. It's an amazing place.
Yeah, Ed, stick around for a minute.
Yep, stick around while we go. Everybody else, we will see y'all in 2 weeks.
Happy
with
Thanksgiving.
someone. I'll figure it out in 2 weeks who we're gonna have on. But good night.
Good night, y'all.